Well, everybody has heard about wrongful death lawsuits being filed, but today we're talking about exactly what that means. Attorney Jim Higgins with the Higgins Firm recently stopped by to explain. Jim, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, we hear about these wrongful death lawsuits all the time in the news. So what happens when one of these is filed? What damages are actually available for the family? Let's talk about that.
Sure. Well, you always hear somebody passed away and a wrongful death's been filed and there's some huge number attached to it. But truly there's a certain amount of damages you can get under Tennessee law. You can get lost wages. If I was wrongfully died, my wife could maybe try to get some of that income back to help her and the children. That's a big thing. Medical bills, if they had them, or funeral expenses before they passed. And then there's this kind of softer damages of the loss of somebody you loved. And that one's always harder. And some juries, they all say different things. Our legislature put a limit on that. It's limited to $750,000 in Tennessee. But those are kind of the big picture of damages you can get in Tennessee.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the money. How is it distributed once you win a case like that?
Well, the way it's distributed, and most of the time this works well, but not all the time, is it goes like someone passed away intestate. And so what that means is that if somebody passes away and they just had a spouse, then it would go to their spouse. If they passed away and they had a spouse and kids, then it would be divided between the spouse and kids.
Makes sense.
So it's just like if you died without a will. So if you had no spouse or kids, it may go to your parents, but it's basically just an intestate succession is what we call it.
Now, I know you recently won a wrongful death case here in Tennessee, so tell us a little bit about what happened here. It was a little disturbing. You and I were talking about it just a minute ago.
It was a hard case, and we're actually still litigating a lot of it, so I can kind of just talk about the first of it. But I represented some children whose mother had passed away in a car accident. And after the mother had passed away, she was married but separated for several years from a gentleman, and he filed within days of their death a multi-million-dollar lawsuit and tried to obtain those funds. So it was the first case up in the Court of Appeals on this issue, and the Court of Appeals, based on new statute, has said, hey, if a spouse has abandoned their spouse, they can't then profit on their death. They can't come in and file a lawsuit. And so the Court of Appeals reversed it for us, and now we're back kind of fighting over how do we fix this settlement that went through that really should not have.
Right, because I would imagine it would get tricky when you're talking about abandonment. How do you classify that, and especially since they're still technically married?
It was. We had to have a full trial. We brought witnesses in. The children. I have great, sweet clients, and they were able to testify that they weren't around, and we were able to prove it and win that at trial. And I think it's one of those cases where we undid something, hopefully, that should have never happened in the first place, because these children were alone and they're going to need this to survive.
Right, really helping out a lot of people. Jim, thanks so much.
Thanks.
The Higgins Firm is serving Tennessee. Give them a call at 615-924-8500 or check out higginsfirm.com.